Hello, American Crochet Association. Salena Baca here, founder, host, lead educator with the ACA. And I've got a live chat today that's not on our normal live chat days because I've got a really special guest that I've been trying to connect with for a while, but technology was not on my side. So I'm really, really happy to welcome Michelle of Two Brothers Blankets here to chat with us today. Hi, Michelle.
Wow. Thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. This is only probably the fifth time we've tried to have this conversation. So
something like that.
Yeah, so I always love connecting with you. You're one of my favorite people. Literally, I'm not just saying this. You are one of my favorite people in the crochet world. I was just literally telling Michelle how much I loved her top and how timeless it is and beautiful. So if you guys dig it like I do, even though that's not what we're chatting about today, I'm going to post it in the video comments so that you guys can have access to that too. So the topic today is something that Michelle had a conversation about on her page a couple weeks ago. And I literally stopped scrolling on social media and I read it because I really connected with it. I even took a screenshot of it because it just really spoke to me. It was about when you crochet that there's pain that we get when we crochet, and just about how that affected Michelle and some things that she does to not only prevent pain, so that she doesn't, get these kind of crippling episodes. I mean, that's how it feels for me. So that's how I'm defining it. But, so really it's about prevention, but then also management. So that's why I wanted to have this chat with Michelle. It's something that I feel that we all go through. Of course, when we crochet, of course, I think that if you crochet for any length of time, it's something that you may deal with, but it's not something I feel we have in-depth conversations about. So Michelle and I are not doctors. We are not chiropractors. We can't tell you any kind of medical advice. So really, this is just a conversation that Michelle and I are having based on our own experiences and based on our own tips that help us not only prevent pain when we crochet, but manage it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So with that, Michelle, for anybody in our audience that's maybe new to the ACA or maybe you don't know Michelle, I was thinking it would be great if you just kind of give us an introduction. Who are you? What do you do? And tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. I'm Michelle. Thanks for having me. I am the crochet pattern designer of Two Brothers Blankets. I have been crocheting, let's see, my youngest is 8, so about 9 years. And I've been designing for about 7. 6 or 7, I think it was. I was pregnant with my youngest, who is 8, when I learned how to crochet. And after he was born, I had 2 under 3 and put it down for a while and then picked it back up when he was about a year old and never put it back down. Mm-hmm. I started designing about a year later, and about a year after that, I went to full-time designing. So I've been doing it for a good 6 or 7 years. I like to design modern garments and accessories for your handmade wardrobe. Mm-hmm. So tops, sweaters, hats, cowls, all the fun things to wear. Yeah, that's me.
That's Michelle. And again, I've been following Michelle for some time, and I probably said this, but she really just has this beautiful, timeless style. And so again, we all love crochet here. We all dig it. I'm going to share Michelle's link so that you can just kind of follow more.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, of course. Follow more from her. If you guys are watching live, come on over, say hey, say hello. If you guys have any questions, comments, feedback about pain when you crochet, go ahead and post them. Michelle and I are going to chat for a little bit, and I'm going to pause at the end and just acknowledge some of you guys that are here, say hey, and we'll pick some of your questions, comments, feedback to discuss after our chat. But for now, Michelle, I was wondering, not what prompted you to post about pain management and prevention, but do you want to share, like, if there was a pivotal moment for you that went, wait a minute, like, I need to manage this? Like, did something happen, Or is it just that you really try to be aware? And so that's kind of where this conversation happened.
Well, I think it was about a month ago. I had been crocheting so much that my hand, like I'm left-handed, so my entire left shoulder, back, all the way down to my tip of my thumb hurt. Like it was just weak, and it would like tingle when I tried to crochet, and pain. And I was like, I got to take some time off. I have to stop crocheting for a little while because this is becoming an everyday problem. And I would crochet for 10 minutes and be in pain already. So that's when I started like talking about it, sharing about it. I think I shared it on Instagram that I was taking a crochet break and how I didn't want to, but I felt like I needed to. And then shortly after, I started up again and like really did something to my shoulder. It was causing me a lot of pain, not just when I was crocheting, but like constant pain. And that is when, after that is when I posted the post you saw on Instagram about just what I was doing and what was working to help with the pain. It kind of was like a moment of where I was like, oh man, this is not good, because I'm a full-time designer. This is my livelihood.
Yes.
My hands are, my arm are what help, create. And so I was like, I have to figure this out, or I'm not going to be able to do this for much longer. Thankfully, it seems to have only been a temporary injury or something. I'm feeling much better now after I have figured out some things. But now I am so much more aware of I got to take care of my arms and my hands, and I got to rest them. And if I want to keep this up, I gotta be aware of this. So
yeah, I'm so glad that I'm so glad that you said all of those things, because I've been crocheting all day. I say all day every day, but I push myself. And I push myself not only because I really enjoy crocheting, I really like to do it, but it is also my job too. And so I think that's why I stopped in my tracks when I saw your post, because it made me realize that I push myself way too much. I don't listen to my body. There are a lot of things that I'm not doing to even prevent, let me just call it burnout, not crochet burnout, like, oh, I just can't do it, but there are things that happen to our body, like when we crochet too much, that, you literally can't, even if you want to, arm pain, hand pain, neck pain, things like that. So I was hoping we could chat a little bit first about prevention. I think that you had some really good points about prevention, and I think it's important to start there, because that's how we get ourselves into this. We don't think about how to prevent it. We're only, myself included, we don't think it's a problem until we literally can't crochet, or our neck is pinched, or our arm is tingling.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about what you determine works well for you, and what you try to do to kind of prevent this from happening to begin with.
Yeah. So what I have found that works for me is I sit better, for one. I am the worst about getting on our couch that reclines and sticking my feet up and slouching way down to crochet. And that does me no good, because then I'm hunched over, I'm pulled up from my bottom half, and I start to strain. Like I can literally feel my shoulder pulling, So any kind of better chair or just even sitting on the couch with my feet on the ground seems to help. And I sit up straight, and I hold up sometimes I'll prop myself down with or up with pillows underneath my elbows and hold my crochet up higher. Seems to make it to where I can go a little bit longer without pain. I also don't marathon crochet, that's what I call it, anymore. I used to do it all the time, where I would rainy days or days where we didn't have anything to do, I would sit at home and crochet literally the entire day away, with just minimal breaks, you know, to eat or something. And I can't do that anymore. I give myself minimum time. I make myself take breaks. I've even gotten to where I set an alarm and I'm like, gotta stop. And that helps a lot with prevention. I take full days off now. No, like I just don't even allow myself to crochet. I've taken, like I said, I took a weekend off, and I've done that again since then. Taken a whole 4 days, just did not crochet. And since it is my job, one thing I have to do, and especially if you sell crochet on Etsy or you are a designer, I have to make sure to give myself plenty of margin. Work ahead enough to where I can take that time off if I need to, and so that I'm not rushing to make a deadline or rushing to get something done, and then I'm having to push through the pain, basically. So lots of margin. And then I have switched hooks also. I have found that the hook I was using also caused a lot of like hand pain, and like in my thumb area. And so I've actually switched to Furl's streamline hooks, and they seem to be working better. I've only been using them for about a month, but I know a lot of people love them, and so I decided to give them a try, and I have not had any issues with my thumb or hands since using them. So we'll see how that goes. But just a good ergonomic hook that is easy to work with, and you don't have to, you know, push through too much and all that. So that's what I'm doing for prevention as much as I can and when I can. And I'm not, so that way I can keep going without having to work through the pain.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I love about that advice, and again, this is why I paused, this is why I really wanted to have this conversation, is, you know, we may hear those things and go, well, of course, those things just make sense. And even I'm like, well, of course those things make sense, but I don't, those aren't things that I actively always do. And, you know, for example, how I sit when I crochet or where I sit, that takes a huge, it can take a huge toll on my body. And I never listen to that. It's like I never remember. You know, one of the worst places for me to crochet is when I'm sitting in bed. It's one of my favorite places to crochet because it's like you put the kids to bed, and then you know, hey, let's watch a movie or let's watch something, you know, and great, I'm going to sit here and crochet. But I don't know if it's my mattress or what, but I've got one of those memory foam mattresses, and it feels very deceiving. Like I feel like it's a like supportive seat, and I've got this big pillow behind my back. But then after about an hour, like my lower back feels like I've pinched a nerve. And it's really hard to recover from that. Like it takes days to recover from that. And I love your advice too about making sure that your arms are supported, like having pillows under your arms. And again, something I would have never thought about or said anything about, but I do realize that, you know, when you're crocheting, when your arms are at this 90-degree angle. And when you're looking at your work, your head's kind of down. And so like your entire upper body is like, it's like clenched. And you're supporting all of that in your shoulders. And so for me, I have a lot of pain, and I get a lot of like tightness in my shoulders because my arms aren't supported. So I've been thinking about like, how can I sit so that my arms are either better supported, or I just concentrate more so on my posture to where I'm not like hunched over like that. So that's something I thought that was so good that you said that, because it's something that, you know, you're not seeing yourself crochet. And so you're not thinking about what you look like and how comfortable that could be after a while.
Yeah.
So I really thought that was such great advice. So I wanted to share some things that I do do I do them all the time? No, I don't do them all the time. But, you know, some things that I do that I think have helped me to really, you know, prevent a lot of the pain that I was getting. I know that you said last time we had this conversation that you stretch, and I find I have to stretch every day now. If I don't do some kind of stretches, especially my upper body is so stiff. Like sometimes I can't even like fully rotate my neck. Yeah. So I find that full body stretches are great. And water. Like if I don't drink enough water, if I don't drink at least 8 cups of water a day, I mean, not only do I have brain fog, but I feel the tightness in my muscles. So that's another thing that helps. And I think that I just wanted to add to what Michelle said about your hook. I too use furls. I only have a few, but I think that they're brilliant. They've really made a difference for me. But I will say that if you have any kind of hand pain or if you have tightness, I would strongly suggest using a hook that has a more ergonomic handle, like Michelle was saying, something that's giving you more to hold on to, because the more you have to hold on to, in theory, the less, the looser your grip is going to be and the looser your muscles are going to be. So I do agree with all that. That's great advice, Michelle. I loved all that advice. And that's why I made a screenshot of your post, because I'm like, oh, I don't do all of this enough. I loved it. Also, guys, I think I said this in the beginning, but Michelle also put together a blog post. So not only are we going to have kind of a written transcript of this conversation, but Michelle's got a blog post that goes over all of this and so much more. So look for that in the video description of this after you watch. Okay, so that's some of our ways that we try to prevent and try to minimize the pain, that we can get from crochet. But sometimes we still get pain whenever we do crochet. So Michelle, you had some excellent tips and advice on that, and I was hoping you could share those with us.
Sure. Yeah, because even when I do all those things to prevent, I still sometimes get just a little pain here and there, or after I've been crocheting a while. So for me, when I start to feel the pain, I definitely am not against taking some like ibuprofen or Tylenol. I'll pop those, and I also use like what are they called? Like muscle creams.
Yes.
Especially for my shoulders and my back. And even like my arm up here. So like anything like that can help with the pain like right away, I'll do. I also like to do heat and ice. I have a heating pad that I use probably too much. I also have found that I used to always just go to heat, but ice or a cool pack of some sort really helps, because it helps with the inflammation, I think, and it helps a lot with the pain. So I try to do that as much as possible anytime I'm starting to feel that. And then like you said, I stretch every day. I try to exercise at least 5 days a week. I do that in the morning first thing, and that's going to help strengthen your body, make it more flexible, get the blood flowing, all that. So there's never, that could be prevention. I guess you could consider that prevention too.
Yeah.
But stretching too, when I start to get stiff, when I start to feel my shoulders tightening up and all that, stop, stretch out my hands and my arms. I do sometimes go get a massage, or go to the chiropractor, or have your partner give you a massage, or get one of those chairs that vibrate. Anything like that to like release tension in your muscles really helps. I went and got a massage the last time I was in really bad pain for my shoulder, and she did such a good job and was able to really, I could barely move it, and by the time she had finished, I could move it again. So anything like that. And then I also, if I am like strapped for time, which I try not to be anymore, and I have multiple projects that I need to work on, I will switch my project completely. Especially to something that like if I'm using a fingering weight and a G hook, I'll switch to something with a worsted weight and a bigger hook. That way you have just the different, especially like hand pain and arm pain, just that different grip and that different feel when you're, that seems to help as well. But I try not to do that too much, because like I said, I want to be able to take those breaks and give my body that rest. So that's only if I'm like strapped for time or something. But those are the main things I do to get rid of the pain as fast as possible. So.
Wow. Yeah, those are great tips. And I agree. I think some of the things that we do to prevent for prevention also help with pain management. Like Exercise, yeah, that is really important. I know that whenever I don't exercise, because sometimes I'm like, I'm fine. Like I don't feel like, I can't think of how to say it, but like strong enough to like, you know, and I'm not saying like I'm not a bodybuilder or anything. I don't do like my workout is like very low key, you know? But it gives me like, it makes me feel like I have the strength to have better posture, you know, not, you know, be so tense and clenched and stuff. And I agree. Yeah. Massage, just being hydrated, you know, heat, that works brilliantly for me. And I agree with you about the ice. Whenever that wasn't something I incorporated until recently. Again, I, you know, completely jacked my neck up because I was crocheting irresponsibly. I didn't put the two together really because I do a lot of computer work, but I also do a lot of crochet work. And I think just the mixture of those two things, like my neck was so kinked that I literally had a headache for like a week. And I was either like, I either need to go to the emergency room or I need to like, let's start with a chiropractor or, you know, a massage therapist. And I went in that day and just like you, like I immediately felt better. So I just had so much tension that it was bothering me. But when I went to that session, that was the first time I'd heard that, hey, maybe you should put ice on this. And I'm like, that doesn't seem like it's going to be comfortable, or like you feel tense and you feel tight. So ice seems like it's going to further that tension and tightness. But you're right. I think that it does help to minimize not only the pain, but also the inflammation. And that's been really helpful for me, is using ice and heat to kind of help minimize that.
Yep.
The good stuff, girl. Good stuff. I love it. All right. Okay. So those are the outlines that we wanted to chat about. And now let's see who's here. Let me give you guys a shout out, and we will take questions, comments, feedback. So if you have anything for Michelle or I, go on ahead and post that. It looks like Chris Lopez is here, one of my favorite crocheters. Thank you so much for being here. Connie Lynn is here. She says, hello, Sherry Richards. Let's see. Linda Woodthorpe is here. Connie says, good evening from Tennessee. I think everything's well with us today. I don't think Michelle or I are suffering from crochet pain today.
Not today.
We followed our own advice. No. Elaine is here. Hello. So good to see you. Tina says, howdy. Becky, good morning. Thank you for being here. Raquel from Honduras is here. Lisa says hello to everyone. And I'm so glad Connie said this. I wanted to follow up on it as well. Michelle, I didn't realize you were left-handed. So do you crochet left-handed as well?
Yes.
Wow.
I am pretty dominantly left-handed. I was talking to someone the other day about it. I think I throw with my right hand and I cut with scissors with my right hand, because scissors are just not really made. I mean, they have left-handed, and growing up I learned, but everything else I'm dominantly left-handed.
I don't know if I knew that about you, because I don't think I've met many, you know, predominant crocheters like you who are left-handed. So that's brilliant. So side note, I know that that's not what we're talking about today. I know people are going to ask, when you write patterns, do you write like you know, are any of your instructions necessary to be left or right-handed, or is it pretty symmetrical and it doesn't need to really be right-handed or left-handed?
It's pretty much the exact same. I actually have a blog post for that too. The only time it would be different is if like I had panels. Yeah. And so if I'm working left to right, this would be the left panel, but for a right-handed person working right to left, you know what I'm saying? So I do. But working in the round, working in rows, I mean, it'll look different. Like it looks different when you watch someone crocheting. But the end result is exactly the same pretty much. So yeah, most people don't even know that I'm left-handed when they get my patterns.
I didn't know. I don't know if we've ever talked about that, but I find it really fascinating. And I think that there's a lot of misconceptions about you know, what it means to be right or left-handed. Girl, I got a new topic for us. I'm going to have you back on. We're going to chat about this. I love it.
Sounds good. I'm ready.
All right. Who else is here? Connie. Hello, Connie. She's back. Terry B is here. Terry B says hello to Michelle.
Hello.
All right, let's see. I'm looking for questions. I'm also just looking for shout outs. Chris Lopez is here and her comment is huge. Let me fix that. She says, I'm right-handed and have developed a very painful knot in the first joint of my left thumb. I'm praying I'm not developing rheumatoid arthritis. I hope you're not either. I know that there are, and Michelle and I kind of talked about this off camera a little bit. Yeah, there could be other reasons that you have pain. So that's why we're like, look, we're not doctors. We can't, this may not be the end all be all. If you are experiencing any kind of pain and you feel like it's due to crochet, always talk to your healthcare provider because there might be an underlying issue. And so this is not meant to be the end all be all, solves all of your problems.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. But I hope that's not the case, Chris. And I hope you feel better because I know that, just being in pain in general is terrible, but being in pain and not being able to really fully enjoy the hobbies that you love, that's hard.
Yeah.
Here's a question. I don't know if you have any feedback on this. Have you heard about like the copper socks and the copper gloves or anything like that? Do you know of any tools or do you have any advice on anything like that?
I did not the I don't have the copper, I don't think, but I do have the compression gloves. I got some on Amazon.
Yeah.
They're like fingerless, so you could crochet. I find them too tight to like crochet with, but I would wear them when I'm not crocheting, and they seem to help. They seem to at least, like make my hands feel, I don't know, less tense or whatever. I've also used like a thumb. I also have like a thumb brace that when my thumb or my wrist was getting sore, it's a soft one. It's not very, you can do things with it. And I would put it on when I'm not crocheting and wear it. And it just would kind of keep everything in place so that it could rest and heal. Okay. Both of those I've gotten on Amazon, I think. And I do use those occasionally when I need to.
Awesome. I haven't read your blog post in about a week, so I forget. Are those tools on your blog post just so others can see kind of what you're using? Or
those two are not. I actually had forgotten about those. I can add them. There are a few other links to some things that can be helpful.
Okay. Just in case, because I'm sure people are going to be interested and they want to know more. They want to know, what you're using.
Those. I'll put them in. I have a Amazon storefront, which is linked in the blog post, and I'll add those to that Amazon storefront, so you can just click it and it'll take you right to the Amazon listing.
I love it. Thank you so much. I appreciate that because I haven't used any of those. And again,
really?
It's things. I think sometimes whenever you have when you have pain, you don't really talk about it. You just try to kind of like either ignore it or manage it or maybe that's me. I don't know if anybody else does this. Like you're in pain, but you don't really, and me, I don't really want to make any lifestyle changes. What do I need to do now to fix it? And then I go right back into the cycle of doing the same things that I do. So I'm really interested in those tools, Michelle, because there are times to where like my hands hurt and like I'm compressing them on my own. And I think that if I had something that did that, I wouldn't feel the need to be kind of compressing them. So that's interesting.
Yeah. I like them.
All right. Well, I can't wait to see what you use. All right. Joe Ralph is here. Hello. Elaine says, correct posture makes a big difference. I tend to sit in a recliner and that doesn't help. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I do. And I still, like you said, I go back to doing it all too often.
Well,
and
I think it's easy to feel like, well, I'm comfortable sitting here. I'd also like to.
It feels comfortable for a while until it's not. So
yeah. And that's why I'm so glad that you mentioned this, because even I would have never said that. I did not really have that realization. It was somewhere in the back of my mind that like, oh, where do I want to crochet? Oh, let me crochet here. But there are a lot of places that I sit. Like I mentioned my bed. That's the worst place for me. Like, for example, I've had a project sitting next to my bedside table and I haven't touched it in a month because the last time I was working on it, I completely ruined my back. And so in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, I'll do it tomorrow because last time it hurt my back. But I still I'm not putting it together that I should move my project. It shouldn't be there. I should not crochet in bed.
Let me do it somewhere else.
Again, like I think that it's something that you say you know, but you still do.
Yeah.
That's what. Oh my gosh. Okay, Terry B. She's got something for us. She says, I find sitting at my dining room table. I find sitting at my dining room table because it gives more support for my back, and the dining chair and the table take the weight of my project off my arms. It really helps. She says, I broke both bones in my right arm and I have a lot of metal work in there. You know, I think those are great. That's terrible. And I'm so sorry that happened. Yeah. I can't imagine what it feels like to, have had surgeries or have had anything like that. So I imagine you really have to take extra care. Now, I find that really interesting. I wouldn't have thought about sitting at a table, especially to wrap your arms. What do you think? Have you done that, Michelle, or have you thought about doing that?
I have not, but I see how that could definitely be good. If it's high enough, I think my issue, like I have some yarn here at my desk, and I always am like, it's not as comfortable here, even though I'm sitting up. This chair makes me sit up more than my couch would. But I feel like maybe if I had something to prop my arms on, like a table, then I would be more, I think that's a good idea. And then that takes away all you're using is your arm and your hands. It takes all this off.
I agree, but I'm trying to visualize that. And I think that it may depend on what kind of project you're working on too, because if you're working on something that has any kind of bulk and that's in front of you on the table, then that may, you may be positioned and then your arms may be up more and it may. So I just wondered, if that could be painful. So I need to try this. I haven't tried this. I like Michelle's idea of propping up either side because that does keep your lap open. And then I think that if you do have support on either side and you're sitting in a comfortable place and it's supported, then you do have your whole lap to have your project there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I feel like there's so many different things I want to try now because these are some great tips. Yeah. All right. Let's see who else is here and what kind of questions, comments, feedback you guys have. Chris Lopez says, I wish I could get Carson Demmer's book on ergonomics for crocheters and knitters. I've never heard of that. Have you heard of that before?
I haven't.
All right. Well, if anybody has any feedback on that, Chris, it looks like you're just suggesting it. If anybody has any feedback on that or resources, we'd love to see them. Tina, I tried the Furl Streamline hooks and they did work better than a regular hook, but not enough. Then I found Brian Nelson's hooks, similar to the Furl's Alpha series, but prices are a little better. Interesting. I know that Michelle referenced Furl's hooks. I know that I have Furl's hooks. So we're not here to, try to push those sales on you guys. We're just sharing what works for us. And I strongly suggest you trying different hooks and trying different styles and different brands. And there is no wrong answer if it's not giving you pain.
Right.
You can crochet comfortably. It doesn't matter if it's a boy hook with no handle or, a Furl's hook or a Susan Bates hook with a polymer clay handle. Whatever that looks like, if it's comfortable for you, then that's a good fit.
Yep. I agree.
Fantastic. All right. So I'm looking through, let's see. Here's something from Terry B. She says, another thing that helps for pain in my arms and shoulders at nighttime in bed is to pillow up my arms and gently hold a washcloth in my hand. Oh, so like a, what do you call it? Like a recovery kind of therapy kind of thing, maybe? She says it's a tip my physician gave me after surgery. That's interesting. And I think that there are some exercise, and, when Michelle and I say, exercise or stretch, really different exercises or stretches could work, maybe different exercises and stretches work for Michelle than for me. And I think that's an interesting point, like whatever kind of rehabilitation or strengthening kind of exercises you can do. I think that could be a good thing. Michelle, do you have any advice or feedback or resources like what on, or you don't have to share. It could be a personal thing. You're like, nope, that's mine. To share like what kind of stretches you do or what kind of exercises you do.
No, I don't. I mean, whatever works. I personally work out at home. I use the Beachbody app most of the time, or I walk. And if I don't stretch like during a workout, I just stretch. Have you ever done the door, like where you put your hands in between the doors and push? Like this will stretch all this.
Yes.
I really like that one. You know, arm circles, the whole, you know, I'm not like a yogi or anything.
Okay, and I'm not either. I'm kind of doing the same thing. So yeah, again, like whatever works for you, whatever you think kind of, you know, sometimes again, like with the compression, I'm like, if I had a glove for this, that would work really well because I'm already kind of doing this. And I feel like stretching kind of is the same. Like sometimes I'm like, it would feel good if I did this. It would feel good if I did that. So listen to your body.
Yep.
All right, let me see. Lots of comments here. I'm bringing on the ones that I think could really, spark conversation or be some really good feedback. Adele is here. She says, I use the copper gloves. It does help with my nerve tissue and my hand shaking. So that's good advice. Sandy, she says, I use a wrist thumb brace, but often they have Velcro, which is not good for yarn stuff. She says, good to use when not crocheting though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they do. They always have some Velcro.
That makes sense. Okay. So it's not something that you would use. And I can see that while you're crocheting, probably it's bulky. And then, the Velcro would probably stick to all the yarn.
Yeah. I think it's better for when you're not crocheting, just as to keep everything steady and let it rest, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Linda's got a good comment here. It's a big one. She says, my shoulders are better since we got new sofas, i.e. better posture for crocheting now. She says, I also find it helpful to work on projects with different yarn weights, especially if I've been using either thread or bulky yarn. I will use something different for the next project. Michelle, you hinted at that. But that's something that you find really helpful as well.
Yeah, definitely. Like I just finished a project with using fingering weight yarn, and my next project that I need to get done is fingering weight yarn, but I'm like, nope, I'm going to take a break from fingering weight yarn and work on something with worsted weight yarn for a little bit, for a few days. Just the change, and usually, you use a bigger hook, and so just the change in the size of the hook and the yarn changes your grip and the muscles you're using and all that. So I definitely agree that does help.
I think that's one of those really important things that is hard to remember, because again, maybe you are experiencing pain from crocheting and maybe you do take a break. But maybe you need to take a break from that project because of either the hook size or the yarn, or maybe you're working on a project and it's taking you longer, and maybe it's taking you longer because it's cumbersome in one of those ways. It's too small, it's too big, or I was even thinking about your advice on that, Michelle, and I was thinking, when I work with smaller stitches like single crochet, it takes more out of me. It does. And for me, of course, smaller yarn on top of that and single crochet, that takes a lot out of me. So I think that's great advice. And I really, again, this is why I love Michelle's tips. This is something that I have to remember because that happens to me as well. Sometimes, I'm fatigued or in pain because I'm crocheting, but it's specifically because of what I'm crocheting or what material I'm using.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, I never even thought about like the stitches being used, but when I do herringbone double crochet, my wrist right here will always hurt if I do it for too long.
Oh yeah. Well, I just went through this crazy series where I was like, I'm making tons of bags, and I made tons of bags. And some of those projects that were cotton yarn, which is very stiff, it's not forgiving. And with single crochet, I noticed that the 100% cotton yarn with single crochet with a G hook, even though it was a tote bag, even though it was
Yeah.
a tote bag and it was kind of a small project, I was like exhausted afterwards. I was really,
Yeah.
you know, it took a lot out of me.
Mhm.
Absolutely. All right. All right. A lot of people here are really loving what you say. They're digging Michelle. Okay.
Oh,
All right. There's some links it shared. Somebody shared your link as well, Michelle.
cool.
But yes, I will, of course, I will update this video description. That way you guys can clearly find Michelle. You can clearly find her fantastic post that gives all of her tips about managing and preventing pain. So I will get all that stuff to you. Okay. All right. And a lot of you guys are talking about this Carson person. So I'm going to check that out. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. I don't see any other specific questions or feedback or anything like that outside of anything that we talked about today. So I think that's it for our chat. Michelle, I love that. I am so glad you brought this up. I'm so sorry that it was because, you know, you had some pain that literally stopped you in your tracks, but I'm so glad that you said something and spoke up and shared what worked for you, because, you know, I am the exact person that needed to hear that, because again, it's like my lifestyle. I keep doing these things that harm my body. I'm not really proactively doing anything to minimize that. I'm only kind of dealing with it after I have pain. So I can't tell you how much I appreciate this. And something I'm doing to change that is I'm listing these things. I'm taking notes of, okay, let me actively start incorporating these things into my crochet life, and let me actively start doing more of these things to either minimize or stop this pain.
Awesome. I am happy to have helped.
You're awesome. I appreciate you. And I'm so glad we finally got to have this conversation.
I know. It worked.
Hopefully it seems like everybody could see us and hear us. So hopefully it translates that way. All right, guys. So that is all we have for this chat today. Thank you guys so much for being here, for joining us live. If you guys still watching on the replay have any questions, comments, feedback, please go on ahead and post them, and Michelle or I will answer them when we see them. Okay. If you guys found this video helpful, please let us know in the comments. And if you think that there were some tidbits here that could either make a difference in your crochet life or the lives of other yarn lovers that you know, please go on ahead and share this video in all the places where you love crochet. Michelle and I would really appreciate it. All right. Again, you guys can find Michelle. I'm gonna add some links. Any last words, Michelle? Any last words?
No. Thank you for having me. And yeah, you can find me Two Brothers Blankets everywhere.
She is. She's everywhere. She's worth it. All right, everybody. Peace, love, crochet. Thanks for being here. I can't wait to see what you say on the replay. See you soon.